I'm excited. I have no questions prepped because I was originally going to prep my questions in the half hour before this, but I think it'll be fine. I'm gonna keep
It'll be fine.
Hello, my name is Sandro. I use they, he pronouns. Joining me today is a good friend of mine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Duffy. I also go by they, he.
Welcome. So I've got a lot of questions for you today, but first and most pertinent is where are we dropping?
Oh god, there's no roll table for that. Let's go by the let's find a temple. I got a weekly that I need to accomplish there, so
so are we going temple in the top right, or just mark it on the map and I'll
yeah, actually I don't know where they are, just off of memory.
All right. We can go to this one over here. But yes, so you do tabletop RPG design, which is what this podcast is going to hopefully be all about. So do you want to tell us a little bit of what you do?
So I started working on tabletop RPG design a little bit in, I think it was 2017. I know I really properly got into it in 2018 after I started playing 5th edition. I hadn't really released anything major for a long while up until about 2020 when I published Heist and put a couple of smaller projects in the works, vehicular manslaughter, old school role-playing game called Hell's Highway, which is still in the works, and a bunch of other things that either haven't gotten names yet or have gotten names, and they're really stupid names.
That's fair. As someone who's played Hell's Highway and Heist, they are phenomenal games. Heist is available on itch.io right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Heist with a big $S.
Yes. Hold up, I'll come grab you.
Yeah, my aim is shit today.
So to give all the viewers at home a description of what's happened. Oh God, this
Dear
is
God,
terrible. All right. You know what? We got
absolutely massacred.
We came in number 50th out of 50 teams. We're fine. It's fine. This is our first round.
We're on top form today.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just got knocked out. That's fine though. So yeah, Heist is a cool game. So yeah, it's all available on itch.io. I definitely recommend checking that out, and Hell's Highway when that comes out. So Hell's Highway, the last time we played, it was in a really good state, and I don't know how much work you've been doing on it since then, but if you had to guesstimate like how much % of that is done before you would be comfortable releasing it, what would you say?
Percentage of release? I want to say that the game's probably about, I want to say 33%, which I think is that's the amount of, what do I want to describe that as? I think 33% is the golden area for like playtesting a game, because it's solid in that state. All that just needs to be added is the content and the formatting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I had in line was I wanted to get a whole roll table for 100 different base careers or classes or whatever. And I think I got as far as about 30 of those, though about half of those were in like a totally refined state. So that's something that I'd want to get accomplished for sure. Along with that, a lot of upgrades. Like one big thing that I wanted to be like a major defining feature of the game is the vehicles that you drive and the vehicles that you customize over the span of a campaign or a short game. And I want to put in enough upgrades for those vehicles to feel like each one is unique to an individual.
That makes sense. I mean, there was already a lot of content when we played, so I'm excited to hear that there's more of that coming. Just for additional context for viewers at home, it's like am I right in saying it's like a Mad Maxy kind of game?
Yes,
like
a major inspiration for the game was Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes. And how many times have you seen that film?
Oh, Jesus. I think I've seen Mad Max Fury Road somewhere to the tune of like 12, 15 times.
I think the only film that I have seen that many times is Space Jam, so I commend you for watching that.
You've seen Space Jam 15 times?
Well, yeah, so I was once on a trip with my family in Florida, and we had like 2 DVDs in the car, and one of them, I forget what the other one was, but one of them was Space Jam. And we were in the car for like upwards of like 20 hours at a time because we were just driving around everywhere. So I just watched Space Jam on repeat. So yeah, anyways, off topic. But
That is fucking incredible. But yeah, Mad Max became like a huge it became like a huge thing for me. It always was. Like I saw it and it kind of changed my life. Like I don't think that's really an exaggeration. I think that's my favorite action movie of all time.
that's awesome.
And I really wanted to capture just like how explosive shit got in that movie, like in the literal and in the figurative sense, regarding like I wanted every car to have a chance to blow up. Like literally speaking, you're not likely to see a car explode in your life ever. But this is more meant to represent like Hollywood car chases and shit like that. So I wanted it to always have a chance for things to blow up, but I also wanted it to have a high chance of critically succeeding and failing, because I really like those just implicitly. They're one of my favorite features in role-playing games, is seeing just how good something can get and how terribly something can spiral out of control. And as a result of that, and as a result of having low hit points on both the characters and on the vehicles, I wanted that opportunity for you, to kick ass without feeling like the opponents are tailored to have their asses kicked, but also not make you feel like an invulnerable killing machine.
That makes sense. I guess this isn't really spoilers, but would you mind telling the audience about like literally my favorite mechanic in that game, which is Witness Me?
Oh yeah. So one of the things I wanted to include in the game was a little bit of agency of when you felt like a situation was going super south and you and your buddies really needed some help. Because one of my favorite things in action media is when somebody just takes a heroic action, sacrificing themselves to save the team. And that was something that I wanted to accomplish with that game, was allowing you to just say like, all right, I need to go. My people need me. You guys go ahead. I'll stay back, hold them off, etc. And in return for guaranteeing that you will basically die, you get an automatic critical success. Whereas,
be careful of the spike traps. Yeah. Yes, you gotta.
I didn't know that was a feature.
Sneak around. Oh god.
Oh god, son of a bitch.
Yeah, so you're telling us about the self-sacrifice mechanics.
And I just sacrificed myself so that you could get through the traps without. God damn it, that's really fucking funny. But that's God, that's really fucking funny. Obviously, I wanted to replicate the event in the actual movie where the guy, Morsov was his name, I believe that was his name. It would suck really hard if I got that wrong now. But he got shot in the face. Spoilers for Mad Max Fury Road, by the way. He gets shot in the face, and he is basically dead. Like, pretty much everybody thinks he's dead already. But he gets up, and everybody among Immortan Joe's war boys are like, yo, you can do it. And just, he straight up says, witness me, throws himself onto an enemy vehicle, blows himself up, and gives his buddies the edge that they need to get away from these guys in spiked cars. And that's what the rule is trying to emulate, was that you were either going to die or you saw a situation where there was no way out unless one of you sacrificed yourselves. And I just wanted to make sure that got represented in the game somehow, because I really like when I really like when they do that in movies.
Oh, did you get hit by the boulder?
Right on top of my head. I am on
I'm
top
so
of my
sorry.
game tonight. You're fine. I have never done one of these events before, so I don't know what I'm doing.
That's okay. That's why we got med mist.
Exactly that.
Yeah, no, so I think both the times, because we've played twice together. I don't know if those are the only 2 playtests that you've ran. But
They are
nice.
aside from like a couple like private individual like 1-player battles against a bunch of NPCs, that's pretty much all I've done playtesting wise.
Yeah, and I think both times my character has used this mechanic. I know the first time I did with the older guy who sacrificed himself to blow up the tanker. Oh, also, to be clear, as someone who has played these games, or this game in particular, things do genuinely blow up. It is like just constant because of the way that the rolling works and the way that like destruction works. Like I don't want to give too many of the mechanics away, and I know a lot of this is in flux, but pretty much anytime a car gets destroyed, there's what you call a wreck check, and there is a not insignificant chance that a wreck check ends in an explosion, which I love. Like that is one of my favorite mechanics in a game.
Exactly. Like there's a bunch of war games that are like, if your vehicle has this tag on a weapon, like obviously like explosives, like rocket launchers, grenades, and stuff like that. They're like, you have a chance of exploding. And I was like, okay, yeah, you have that here too. If you have explosives on your car, there's like I think it totals out to like a 50% chance you're going to blow up. But the rule book says like, of course, if you critically fail this check, your car just blows up anyway, because cars just do that sometimes.
Cars do just do that sometimes. So you've driven cars before, I'm told, and I've witnessed.
I do a little driving.
So how many cars have you had?
I am on my second, actually. I just bought a car earlier, a couple of months ago. This is like the first car that I've actually put payments
on. Nice.
The first one was, the first one was just straight up a gift from my grandmother, which was like the coolest thing ever, to get a friggin' Subaru Impreza for free from your grandma, which is nice. I'm getting shot at. We're both getting shot at.
Yeah, I think we're getting shot at from both sides. That's fine. We'll shoot back at them.
It's cool.
Yeah, and so what model is your current car? I forget. I've seen it before, but I don't know car things.
It's a Hyundai. I never learned how to pronounce that fucking name. Yeah. It's an Elantra.
Oh, nice. And have you crashed it yet, or no?
Thankfully for monetary reasons, no. For research reasons, unfortunately, I have not crashed.
Have you ever been in a car crash, though?
I have never been in a car crash. I have been in plenty of car, let's call them incidents, where I've almost crashed, because the winter can get pretty fucking messed up. I have driven in 2 circumstances where I had to go home from a shift at Home Depot, where the snow was just pure powder. It was, I think this happens 2 times. And I think both times it happened around 9-10 o'clock. So it was just absolutely pitch black, just absolutely pouring snow. And I think I fishtailed like 2 times on the highway coming home once. It was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. I started driving in the snow. Like that's where all of my driving school went on in, was like in the dead of winter. So all of my practice was on top of snow.
I had that same experience where it's like I almost feel more comfortable driving in winter just because I'm used to like the slip and slidiness of it, because that's where I learned to drive. And also it's like I feel like the snowbanks are really useful at night because it's just like, oh nice, I don't have to worry about where the sidewalks are. It's just they're right there.
Yes, thank you.
Now,
you don't yourself do a lot of driving, do you?
no, I actually I don't hate being in cars. I hate driving cars. It's just not something I like doing, and also cars are very expensive. So I mostly exist on foot, which is why I'm very grateful whenever I get rides in the middle of storms from y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, I'm very happy to drop into some storms. Which, speaking of dropping, we totally borked our last encounter with some enemies. I will totally blame myself for that. We drop in a Daily Bugle.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
All right, awesome. Yeah, I had a shotgun and an SMG, and I just did not use it because I was all in on that story.
Yeah, I was desperately trying to split focus and not just break out, freaking out over this one dude who was 2 meters away, and I could not fucking hit him.
You know what? It's fine. We got all the treasure from the Indiana Jones thing, so that's worth something.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of gold.
It is,
from what I'm told.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, that is several dudes in this area.
Yeah. Oh goodness, I'm about to die.
Oh dear.
That's fine. No, I recovered.
Oh, grats.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I only have 2 health, and I don't think I'm gonna survive for much longer. Oh goodness.
Oh.
Here,
I've literally never used a charge SMG.
They're weird.
That is a hilarious weapon design.
I really like them, but they're Oh goodness.
I'd have to get used to them. I'd really have to get used to them.
Let me see if I can. Oh god. No,
yeah, I definitely don't think it'd be a weapon that I choose to use.
Yeah.
It's better than 50.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we did great last time. We were in there were only 34 people left, so we were probably in top.
That was the case.
Like 12 or something. Or top 24, I guess. No. Or top.
Whatever 34 to 17?
17, thank you.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I don't feel bad about that. Continuing on though about cars. So you've done a lot of different types of game development. You've done like digital game development and tabletop dev. What was like the first thing that you really like made when you were like, what got you into making things? Because you also do 3D printing.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
The first thing that got me into like making things, that is a good question. So the thing that got me into games was Game Maker, which I think at the time was Game Maker version 8. No, that's absolutely a lie. I think it was 7 at the time. I'm not actually certain on that. But the funny thing about it was it wasn't actually Game Maker. It was the idea of Game Maker, where I was just a wee child of the age of middle school. No, I think even earlier than that. I think I was in like 4th grade. And I had heard about Jesus Christ. I had heard about Game Maker Studio. I was a Game Maker Studio at that time. God, I'm frazzled as fuck. I'd heard about Game Maker and I was like, wow, I would love to make games for myself. That sounds so cool. And I would spend like a combined total of like hours every week just like doodling stuff on notepaper in class, which amounted to like 50% game design, 50% hand-drawn sprite sheets. I remember like very vividly there was one game I had like drawn, which was it's a duck hunting game, but you're the ducks and you get guns and you're like, fuck this, I'm gonna fight back. And it's all about you like beating the fuck out of a bunch of hunters. There's a bunch of like really silly concepts in there, like a bunch of redneck duck hunters going after you. a couple of levels in with like mechs and shit like that. It was the silliest goddamn thing. And eventually I did end up trying Game Maker, whatever the version was available at that time. And I think I got to creating a sprites, putting it in the room, and then almost instantly giving up because it was difficult.
Yeah.
However, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, it's funny, especially with like digital game design, how hard just like the simplest things can sometimes be, and it can be really discouraging at the start.
Oh my god, absolutely. Like, I had originally like heard about it, and I thought it would be great because this whole like drag and drop aspect would be great. It's going to be easy, which my brain at the time translated to, this is basically going to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I did zero research on the actual philosophy and practice of designing a game, not just in Game Maker, but in general. So eventually, fast forward about, I want to say, oh shit, those are NPCs. Fast forward to actual middle school, where I was actually learning Game Maker and making really tiny games. And there was a bunch of like really tiny projects, right? Like a lot of them were top-down shooters, because that was the easiest to do. You didn't have to simulate physics. You didn't have to you didn't have to do as much when you weren't doing a top-down shooter. So they quickly became like one of my favorite things to make. And I think I made about like 7 that were basically reskins of the same idea. And then I did something crazy, which was tried something different. Which was a side-scrolling shooter, which was essentially just boss rush. You were just a regular dude who I gave 3D glasses because I had a huge phase in middle school where I thought like regular like red and blue 3D glasses were the coolest goddamn thing ever. I think, yeah, I absolutely hold that belief still.
I was about to say, yeah, that's a good instinct.
It's cool as fuck. But he would fight against these elemental varieties of enemies, which were all noses. Like the first level was a huge flying disembodied red fire nose. And then the next level was a ice nose, and then there was water, and then following the philosophy of the original periodic elements, of course, there was lightning and then zombie. But it was cool because not only was that one of the first games where I experimented with physics, which thankfully was still kind of easy because there was a module for Game Maker that taught you how to do that. But it was also the first game that I had actually brought to my school. We were just getting into the habit of bringing in flash drives to class, so I had an excuse to have data brought with me. So I was like, you know what? I've just figured out how to make this game into a .exe. I'm gonna bring this to class and show people. And I did. And then people came to my computer and they played it, and a couple people asked to like have copies of it, and I kind of lost my mind there. And I was like, dude, I can make something that people can enjoy and just play. And that like blew the fuck out of my mind. And that was like the first thing that I like made and showed anybody. I ended up making a couple of other games that weren't nearly as good. which is to say we're absolute fucking shit. Well, that was like, I think it was a knockoff of Street Fighter where it was God fighting Satan. It was terrible.
I never knew you'd made a fighting game. That's neat.
Yeah, it was not. It really wasn't that good. I had no concept of what an actual fighting game was like. I just kind of did it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is what this is like." And it wasn't great because I didn't know keyboard inputs, so I had to huddle around a tiny keyboard with like 2 other people. So it was a subpar experience, but it was learning, and I had fun while I was doing it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, well, I always like to think that like every creative project, even if it doesn't end up going the way you want, like it's always building your toolbox, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's interesting because if we want to follow that thread, you don't how to put this. I haven't seen as much of your digital stuff, so it's really cool hearing about that history. I think the first digital game of yours that I played was like the that like top-down shooter that you brought in when we did that game dev night.
Oh, which one was that?
It was, you had like a crossbow or something, if I recall.
Oh yeah. Oh goodness, I can't even remember the name of it now, which kind of sucks. I totally just ran that guy over. That was awesome. Crystal Knight, where you're like a little knight dude who's defending this big purple crystal from zombies and skeletons and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I brought that one in. That was fun.
Yeah, and you said you're potentially working on a new digital game, right? Am I
Yes.
recalling your tweets correctly?
Yes, you are recalling my tweets correctly. A lot of people had been talking about Godot on my timeline. I don't actually know if that's how it's pronounced, if it's Godot or if it's Godot, but I wanted to try it out, so I'm doing some play testing, just trying to figure out how it all works. It's learning a new interface, so it's scary, but it's fun. But there's been an idea that's been kicking around in my head for a long while, and I want to see if I can make it with that.
And what is that idea?
The idea is a horror game, one that's inspired by Space Hulk, kind of.
Oh.
I had the idea for a little while where you're in this suit of like mecha armor that is just so absolutely layered with armor to protect you from these absolutely fucked up aliens that you're going to be dealing with, that there's just no way to maneuver cleanly or to see outside. So you're essentially in a walking tank, and your only method of like seeing outside is through a variety of sensors that operate on I want to say 1970s, 1980s level of computer technology. So we're talking like grainy CCTVs and aliens level motion detectors and shit like that. Oh, this asshole. These assholes, sorry.
Oh, nope, yeah, they got us. Oh no, that's a team of oh no, they have one of the compatriots. I was like, how are there 3 of them?
Oh, what? You can hire NPCs?
You can hire NPCs. You can also hire NPCs in single player. I didn't know you could hire NPCs in multiplayer.
Oh my god. This motherfucker clowned me from Switch.
So yeah, I love that sort of idea. I remember when you were first pitching it to me, one of the things that you'd mentioned is like also having like an actual physical viewport that was like really small. And
yes, it's just absolutely terrible. Like you can see a little bit out of it, and that's the only way that I want you to be able to see your environment is through that little like 2-inch slit, and you can see like this looks like it's made of metal, that looks like it's made of stone, that looks like it's running at me 50 miles an hour with claws. I want to fucking kill it. Which will, as even as it's like the worst option that you have right now, if you take damage, you may end up with that being your only option.
And so have you seen any like submarine? I know this is like not as space hulky, but have you ever seen any of those like old like 70s and 80s like submarine films?
I have not. I've wanted to, but I have unfortunately not.
You should definitely watch some because the crossover between like stuck in a mech suit and stuck in like a Cold War era nuclear sub is a very similar kind of claustrophobia, I feel.
Oh God, absolutely. There's going to be comparisons to it, and there's also a lot of inspiration that's drawn from it, so that also makes sense. But Iron Lung, have you experienced / played through that game?
I have not. I've heard a few things about it, and I hear it's very good.
It is very good. I really like it. I really like the lore of that one, and I also really like the vibe that it captures, and that's something that I also want to capture while also being what's the words that I'm looking for here? So that one's scary for like a dread and a claustrophobia reason. I want it to be like an active terror claustrophobia. It's like instead of, oh God, what's going to happen? It's like, oh God, something is happening. I am a part of it. It is active. It is constant. It is uncaring. That's the kind of vibe that I want to go for.
I definitely get that. And I feel like even just the pitch kind of like makes my skin crawl in a good way of being like trapped in like a mechanized box like that. I love it.
Exactly. Like I love the idea of like mech suits. Like mecha as a genre is really great, but I really love mecha that plays with the idea of what a mecha represents. Like in one instance, there's of course, this is like a huge suit of armor that is meant to protect you. But I also really like the idea of this huge suit of armor is just barely enough. Like that is the only leveling factor that you have in order to survive, to the point where on that even playing field, you're kind of at a disadvantage just from how fucking clunky everything is. That's what I wanted to encapsulate through that one.
I dig that a lot. Because
something that I really like in games like BattleTech, for instance, it's like when your mech is breaking down, it feels more like a liability than a tank. And I really like that feeling. It is stressful as hell, and I feel like that would work really well in a horror game.
Definitely. Yeah, and just again that feeling of being trapped in something that is there to protect you, but also like you can get stuck inside. Like
exactly.
Oh, I love it.
Like back to the conversation about cars. That's another thing. It's meant to be a tool and it's meant to be safe, but at the same time, there's a lot of good media out there that pertains to being trapped either under or in or by cars. And there's just a lot of opportunity for shit like that.
Heck yeah. So you mentioned lore briefly, and like it sort of like sparked a question. So I've played Heist. Heist is currently out right now, and it doesn't necessarily have like what I would define as lore, unless you would say that Heist. Would you say that Heist has lore?
No.
Okay. Now, unlike Heist, it feels like Hell's Highway kind of does have lore. Am I right in that assumption?
It has lore light. Like one of the things that I want to accomplish with Heist was in some instances. So here's where it becomes a little bit difficult for me. In some instances, I don't like setting free RPGs, because from the setting you derive a lot of the tone and the stakes to inform like character decisions and etc. through the world, right? Mm-hmm. But in Heist, it feels like, I don't know, that one just felt implicit to me, was like heist movies and other crime related media. whether we're talking about like say Lupin the Third or Payday or Bad Guys, etc. Those all feel like they have a similar theme to them that is implicit to the acts and not the setting.
Yeah.
Just crime in a very gratuitous sense, and that was all I wanted it to be, and that's why I didn't really give it a setting, was because I didn't want to tie it too strongly to one setting, because I didn't want to, like, I wanted it to be equally possible to pull off Heat or any of the Payday missions, or I don't know, fucking Diamond Heist in the Dark Ages. However, Hell's Highway, that one you can't really do, at least not with the level of technology for the weapons and the upgrades and the classes. That's where it comes to making a game with a lot of content, I feel. Going setting light works better for a very small game without a lot of defined character paths, I think. Whereas with a much larger game with much more options, I think it's better to have context of the world. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that Heist is like, it doesn't have a setting. It definitely has like a real like palpable sense of setting and vibe, but it doesn't have like lore, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there's like, yes, there are these characters who are known within the world.
In this event, this happened, etc., etc.
Yeah.
There's like, I got what you're saying.
Whereas like so much of Hell's Highway is really built on the idea that it's a post-apocalypse world, and like obviously that inciting event tends to inform a lot about sort of a setting's narrative, I suppose, of like what did cause the apocalypse here. So if it's not huge spoilers, I am curious, because I don't think I ever really asked when we were playing. So what did actually cause the apocalypse in most of the Hell's Highways games that you've like run?
In most instances, I've pretty much based it off of the general apocalypse of the Mad Max films universe, which is just things just very slowly go to shit over time, and then all of a sudden, bam, nuclear war wipes out basically everything.
Yeah, it just buckles at some point.
And then you are all magically whisked off to the wasteland of Australia and go on great adventures together. But that was the very loose idea. But it was just that. It was an idea. I never really had a specific lore. I never had like a specific like actual event that happened. It was just very like rare and nebulous. This happened, and now we're all dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to remember, because it's been a long while since I've worked on the story setting of the game. But like in the beginning of the book, I think that they mention like nobody that's alive now remembers the events. Oh, that's a big fucking truck. I've damaged him. He's not looking great. He's built a fort.
Yeah. I just got what I assume is his friend.
And
I'm gonna hit
that
him.
one's down.
Nice. All right, sweet. That's that team down. Yeah, I definitely get what you mean of like just trying to rebuild, like being thrown in that world where you're just trying to rebuild the pieces.
Exactly. Like it was mentioned that it was for, I think I was on the point where I was saying that people have forgotten about it, and I think that's the state that I'd like the world to be in. Like I want to leave it open that people can discover what happened, but like the base state of the game is people don't really know.
Yeah. Are there any, once this game comes out, like are there any locations in mind or like characters in mind that you want to have packaged with the game, or is that something like it's more really the setting and the rules speak for itself and people can kind of come up with the rest on their own?
I do want it to be like primarily the rules and the setting will speak for themselves, but a lot of games that I really like will have very minor like hex crawls that focus like like hyper focus in on one area of the world that they've constructed. And I feel like that'd be something that I'd really like to do. I'd like to create something that one focuses on the wasteland aspect of the game, and then something that just focuses extremely in on the race aspect of the game, where it's just I might honestly codify the sewer race that I had you guys go on.
That was so much fun.
because Noah's character just riding a motorcycle 360 around the outside of a sewer pipe was like the coolest fucking thing ever, and everybody deserves to play that.
Yeah.
I think.
So for some context for people who have obviously not played this game, the 2 sessions that we played, one of them, I forget what the exact story of the first one was, where I played as the doctor, but I think that was just generally like we were going across the desert. I forget if that was like an escort mission, or what was the context of that one?
The first one, the one that you played with Noah, was that one was actually the underground race, I think.
Oh, that was the yeah. I can't remember the chronology of which one we played first. I remember there was the death race, which was amazing, and the other one was also very good. But yeah, what was the story of the other one?
So the first one that was underground, you were stuck in an underground kind of vault situation, vault, empire, whatever, and you were racing for your freedom. The second one was there were 2 warring factions, and one of them got this really crazy weapon, and your faction wanted it.
Oh, right.
And you were racing to basically intercept a convoy, kill everybody that was guarding that convoy, and make off with whatever this cool weapon was, which turned out to be a whole different type of vehicle that I was hoping to also include in the rules, which was, hey, here's also another huge fucking mech, because I just love putting mechs in things, man.
Hell yeah, they're a great vibe.
They are a great vibe.
So yeah, which if you had to like pick which was the best Fallout without explaining, which would be the best Fallout?
The best Fallout game?
Yeah.
Oh, God. New Vegas.
New Vegas. That's fair.
With minor explanations that, one, it's my first, so like I'm obviously biased against it, but 2, just after coming back to it after the rest of the series, New Vegas.
So do you mod sprinting in there, or do you just like raw dog, like just let yourself walk through all of that?
I kind of got to be able to run a little bit. I gotta.
That's super legit.
I know it's not the purest experience, but I gotta.
Oh no, I literally when I first played that game, it was on Xbox 360, and I was not a huge fan, and then I played it on PC with the run mod, and that was the only mod that I did, and I was like, this game is a masterpiece.
Yep. I did it with the run mod, and then I also did it with the stronghold protection one, which was a lot of fun because I just in general really love tower defense and wave survival and all that kind of shit. Where did this guy go? Oh, he's still in the car.
Did you ever play Fallout 4 at all?
I played it briefly. I didn't really like it. It's not to say that like the game itself wasn't good. The gunplay and the exploration and the world were all fucking amazing. I didn't like I really didn't like the storytelling.
That was also my issue. Mm-hmm. But keep going.
Like not like just the not just the substance of the story, but the method. Like there's been millions of people who have talked about the 4-option dialogue. So what could be said has already been said, but I really don't like the inability to see what you're going to say before you say it. And obviously there's mods that take care of that and type out all of that dialogue for you, but it's it goes deeper than that. That's a design philosophy that's baked into the game from its creation, and as a result, everything in the game kind of suffers from that.
Yeah, and I have the hot take that, like, and I don't know if this is what most people say about it, but I think a lot of that stems very simply from the fact that they had voice acting for the main character.
Yes.
Yes. I think unless you have like a distinct character, like you're playing like Geralt of Rivia or something, you should never have voice acting for the main character.
Exactly. Like, unless you're doing like very minor voice lines, like pain grunts when you're getting shot at, please, for the love of God, don't. And I think in no small part the criticism of that voice acting, and as a result the choices that you got, I think that's why there's a lot of talks about there not being voice acting in the new Starfields or whatever the next game that Bethesda is coming out now.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking gray.
Maybe that's a bit harsh. I know some people who are excited for Starfield. In my opinion, Starfield looks horrendous, and I will not buy it. But I'm very excited for the people who are excited. Maybe it's just because I played Spore and have also played No Man's Sky. But I'm like, nah, I got my fill for both of these things.
Yeah, I got my fill on sci-fi games with heavy promises.
Yeah. I still think Spore is potentially one of the all-time great sci-fi games, because I there is so much in that game and it executes on all of it perfectly.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably the biggest problem with it, is it's nothing more than it promises to be, because when you think about what the promise is, you're like, actually no, this is exactly how this would turn out.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for like the era.
Yeah.
But I think it also has the like ultimate crowning hallmark of a successful game of that era, which is it got ported to the Nintendo DS.
That's true. Yeah, I never played that port, but I hope it's good.
It's okay. It's not the same, but you can create an alien, you can fight other aliens, which is nice.
Yeah, I love anything that lets you build, kind of like looping back to Hell's Highway, anything that lets you build your own like vehicles or like create your own structures. I think that's really magical. It's why I really do like tabletop RPGs a little more than video games, because there's so much more of that creation.
Oh my god, absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons I really liked Hell's Highway, like the freedom to just kind of like trick out your car however you wanted to. Like, I'm very excited for this game, folks, and I hope you feel no rush to make it, because I know that you're always constantly juggling a bunch of stuff, but if what I saw is only 33% of what's going to be there, I'm hyped for whatever ends up being the final product.
I'm excited for it. I'm hoping I stick the landing.
Yeah. All right, so some rapid fire questions here. So favorite color?
Either like a really nice glossy black or sky blue.
Ooh, why sky blue as opposed to any of the other blues?
It's always been my favorite color growing up. I really like how the sky looks. And also pretty much everything that I had growing up was themes for that. Like, as always, I had the blue stuff. My brother had the green stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So it was always a hassle whenever he would get something blue, and he would, or no, I would get something that was like green, or we would like mess something up in that regard. I would be like, no, remember I said this was going to cause issues in the future, and look where we are in the future with issues being caused. But yeah. Those are absolutely my favorite colors.
I dig that. So crunchy Cheetos or puffed Cheetos?
Oh fuck. You really, these are tough questions. I do really like crunchy Cheetos.
So what was the time that you felt the most isolated in your life?
Oh geez. Definitely one of them was when I was in the hospital for 3 days.
Oh dang, what happened? If you're comfortable sharing.
There was This is a matter of if you're comfortable with not cutting this out. But basically, I pissed blood once,
No.
and then I was in the hospital for like 3 days while they were trying to like figure out. They ran like I think 3 different tests on me where they scanned me. They did like blood work. They did antibiotics and they did something where they like flushed me full of like some fluid that they could see on the scanner.
Oh yeah.
To like make sure my insides were good. And like by the end of the 3rd day, it was like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. Keep an eye on it and let us know.
Did they ever end up figuring out what it was?
No, never. It was like, yeah, it might have been like some viral thing. We genuinely don't fucking know. And it was like, all right, sweet. I wasted 3 days.
Oh my god, I'm just like being in the hospital. I know the exact fluid that you're talking about. It's the stuff that like when it starts to like flood your system, you get like really cold, but like on the inside.
Yeah.
That's like a
really
cool feeling, but
it is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I just wish it was bookended by like a shower.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get to for like a couple days and it sucked. And like the first day I didn't have my phone, and then for like the rest of the time I did not have Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So I was stuck watching hospital TV, which sometimes was good and sometimes wasn't. I was just watching Cartoon Network a lot, which was great until the new Teen Titans show came on, and then it was not great.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. How old were you when this happened?
This was like 5 years ago.
Oh my god!
I think. Yeah, it wasn't super long ago, but it was very fucked up.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty metal though. That's a good story. Do you feel like that like influenced your design at all? That experience?
No, I think it just made me really appreciate my bed over hospital beds.
That's valid. I'm glad you're appreciating your life a little more as a result of that.
Yeah, it taught me the value of patience, or something profound like that. We got dude over here.
Oh,
we got 2 dudes. That's not great.
I'll try and mark him. I'm gonna like rush him with it. Oh god, I should not have rushed these guys with shotguns. This was a bad idea.
Yeah, you should have let me know earlier. I would have joined.
I'm so sorry.
You're good.
So, what's another rapid fire question here? What's a project that like you would love to work on, like tabletop project that you would love to work on, but you're like pretty sure you'll never actually find the time for?
I would love to make a war game that can transition between being a full-on war game to a skirmish game to a role-playing game, and have them be compatible with like very little fucking around with conversion.
Yeah,
because something that I really love about war games is like mass battles. But something else that's really cool is characters.
Yeah.
Just doing crazy cool shit. And I'd love to do that, but I'd love those characters to like be... I'd love you to be able to craft those characters over time, you feel?
Yeah, and like go on adventures with them and do like duels and stuff like that.
Exactly. Like how D&D like originated from war games. I feel like it would be nice to get the modern perspective of RPGs to like sort of drift back to the other side of the metronome, you know? Like ticking rapidly from war game to role-playing game. I want something that you can just switch between.
Yeah. Did you ever play the old Warcraft games, like the RTS ones?
I played like a little bit of Warcraft. No, yeah, I played Warcraft 3 a little bit.
Because it's just interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the things that I absolutely adore about Warcraft 3 is obviously it's an RTS, so you do all these like battles and stuff, but you get these sort of hero units that level up. I mean, this was the origin of MOBAs, is people like taking those hero units and being like, let's just make this a whole game mode.
Exactly.
And so like I would love to see that on the tabletop, like that sort of like, I can build an armory and I can do all these things, but also like this character is like a real character with a real character sheet.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you're never gonna get time to do that.
Well,
or potentially
like,
not get time to do that.
Potentially, because I would really like to. Like, here's the background behind that response.
Yeah,
it's like I'll probably make like a lot of attempts. I will probably never do them well.
Interesting. Do you think that it's doable, or do you think that it's just going to be so hard that it's going to take like just a lot of trial and error?
I feel like it's going to take so much trial and error that it is either going to take so much time, or whatever I settle on is just going to wind up not being fun in one of the tiers of play. That's what I'm worried about. Yeah,
that's tough. Like making sure that it's fun at all tiers. But something that I also always try and consider as a designer is like, it's tough because I feel like that we have, especially nowadays, like this instinct to like make it perfect for everyone, if that makes sense, and like make sure that it's firing on all cylinders, because so much of our favorite art is firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
Hold up, I gotta talk to Little Whip real quick.
Yep. I just T-posed on a guy.
Like
neither of us have guns. He just walked past and I T-posed him. It was great.
Oh goodness.
Oh, are you knocked?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I stepped into this gas station and then two guys swarmed in. That's fine though. Oh goodness, you're also getting attacked. Nicely done. Good T-pose. But yeah, I feel like we have this this instinct to kind of like make the games that we make like perfect for like just kind of any play table. And I feel like so much of what tabletop RPGs are is they're more like it's like a recipe. It's more like cooking than anything. And like the recipe will only ever take people so far because like everyone's stove is different, if that makes sense.
No, yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like it's not like baking where like you can create like the perfect recipe that'll be perfect for everyone. Like it's always going to take a little bit of minutia.
You're making a stew.
Yeah.
And it's like literally impossible to fuck that up.
Yeah.
It'll never be bad, it'll just be different.
Yeah. I like that. And so, okay, so
I don't know how to cook. This is a disclaimer. I don't know how to cook.
I will teach you how to cook anytime that you want to. It's really easy. Cooking is so much easier than baking, because baking you have to make sure baking is video games. Baking is everything has to be exact, and if you fuck one thing up, everything's terrible.
So baking is video games. Cooking is tabletop RPG.
Yes. That's the analogy I would go with.
I love that analogy.
Thank you. This will probably be our last match, but so I'm curious. So Heist is in the pipeline, or Heist is out.
Yes.
Hell's Highway is in the pipeline. Is there any other stuff in the pipeline that people can be looking forward to that you might be coming out with in the near future?
There's a couple of things that I'm trying to throw together. Let's see here. One thing that I started working on, and I'm like, I think about halfway to a playable demo of, is something that's working on the under the pen name of, let's see, where is that? Thrashtron 8000, which it's also like, it can also just be Trashtron 8000, where it's like one day I was rewatching a scene from Mad God, where they had like a whole bunch of tanks and really cool fucked up war machines that were made out of like a bunch of scrap bits. And I was like, oh, that's cool as fuck. I want to make something. And in between starting and finishing that, I thought it'd be cool if this was a war game. So I have very, very light notes sitting around regarding that. And I don't know. I would really like to make a good like war game / skirmish game kind of thing now, because I've done a lot of work into role-playing games right now, but within like the last year or so, I've been really getting into war games in general, and I'd like to try my hand at creating something that's like mine, you know?
Yeah. And so we briefly touched upon the fact that you do 3D printing, and like, do you feel like that also influences your design and like the kinds of things you try and design?
Yes, because it's a lot more freeing. I have a lot more that's open to me now. Whereas in a model that I had like just created, if I I'm trying to phrase this. God, I cannot fucking talk right now. I had just created a guy that had like this big fucking minigun, and I had a bunch of straws laying around, so I made a minigun out of that. But if I wanted to make like larger cannons, I don't really have a whole lot that's available to me right now. But with the 3D printer, I can either look for a design online or just spend 20 minutes in Blender making one, and I could have a like a battleship grade cannon ready for printing. And then I could... God, that took a lot of focus. I could spend 20 minutes creating a model in that, and then I'd have something to prototype with, by the end of the evening. And I could see whether or not that would work out. So it's definitely it's much more freeing in the aspect that I don't have to commit a lot of time to making shit on my own or buying other shit, when an object the size of like my phone would cost me about, I think in total, 30 cents to print, just as like a rough analog. But yeah, that's one thing that I want to branch out into, is like testing what it's like to work with war games and other miniature focused games instead of narrative focused games, now that I have access to creating miniatures like in-house,
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean this as a compliment, a lot of your miniatures that you've created have a very like kitbashy feel to them, kind of like what you were describing earlier. And I don't think it's any secret that you are quite a fan of orcs in 40K.
Yes.
And I think that also kind of comes out in your design a little bit, because a lot of the settings, they tend to be like scrappy in various ways. Like even Heist, like there's definitely this like you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants vibe to it.
Yes.
And like I'm wondering if it's right to say that a lot of your design gets influenced by that sort of scrappy nature.
Yeah, kind of. I feel like that's an accurate way to put it. God, that's actually not something that I'd considered in full. That's actually really interesting that you bring it up now. Wow, yeah. I didn't actually think that it went deeper to like the the philosophical design level of things, but upon further reflection, yeah, that actually just makes sense.
All right, well, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because it's like I'm Hell's Highway. Obviously, it's like you're sort of kind of customizing, like the way that customization often works in your game. It's deeply customizable, but also you feel like you're sort of kit bashing all the time, which I love. It's like a very there's plenty of role-playing games. I mean, I think a staple of role-playing games is that things are customizable, but there's a real sense of texture in the way that your games have been customizable that I've played, where it's like you feel like you're welding iron to iron, and just you see all those like little weld bubbles, but like the thing that you've made is epic and metal.
Yeah, because like going back to Hell's Highway again, like a lot of the aspects of building cars like that, a a lot of them really shouldn't fit together, like to begin with. So part of that is doing some mental kit bashing to imagine, like, okay, how the fuck are you putting a turrets and a roll cage on the same vehicle? Like, how the fuck does that work?
Mm.
And just like trying to process that absolutely bullshit construction in your head.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's so true. Because like a lot of those, I don't know cars super well, but yeah, a lot of the options that you can put together, your only real limits are like what supplies you have and like a couple of, I forget the exact names of like the limits that you have within the game.
Yeah,
but it's not at all constrained by reality.
No, absolutely not. Because I think that would be boring, especially for like the kind of vibe that I'm trying to capture. Where other games that would do customization like that would take consideration into, you have a certain number of slots on the roof of your car, you have a certain number of slots on the side of your car. I just want there to be like a general number of slots to spend in general. Because while on one hand it would be nice to be able to balance things like that, on the other it'd just be really fun to have like a bunch of shit just sticking out of the roof of your car to make it cooler.
Well, and also what I love about Hell's Highway is the balance feels like it's like everything you take doesn't necessarily give you a penalty, but everything you take can and will explode.
Yes, exactly.
That's sort of like the natural balancing. It's like the more stuff that's on your car, the more stuff that's on your car.
Yeah, exactly. Every tool's a hand grenade.
Yeah. Okay, there's some guys with boars back here. Let's see if we can take them out. Yeah, this is just getting me excited to play Hell's Highway. I know you've been working on a lot of things, so no pressure to work on it anytime soon, but
no,
the next time
this
you
is
do,
just motivating me to work on it more.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
This is exactly what I need.
All right, so potential war game in the pipeline. Oh goodness, I'm down.
Oh, I shot the boar. I'm stupid. I'm dead.
All right. I think we can probably call it there. But hey, thank you so much for being on the show, for playing some Fortnite, and for talking about your games. I am so excited for Hell's Highway. So where can people find you online if they want to see more of your stuff, see the cool models you're making, and see the cool games you're making?
So I am on Twitter at Orxalot, which is at ORXALOT. That's really the only social that I have right now. I think my itch.io is the same address there. If not, I'll just post a link to it in my Twitter later on. But
yeah, and I'll have links down in the description and everything.
Absolutely. It was awesome to be a part of this. I stuttered a lot. And I lost my train of thought a lot, so I apologize for that.
You know what?
But this is...
we did an interview during a game of Fortnite. You're fine. Don't worry about it at all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Was there anything you wanted to add before we wrap up the interview? Anything you want to say for the folks at home?
Make something that kicks ass. Just have a lot of fun. You know.
Base. Absolutely base.
This is very much like off the cuff with like zero thought, but just throw shit together and see what works. If it doesn't work, you still made something.
Hell yeah.
And that's commendable in its own.
Heck yeah. All right, well, thank you again, and that will wrap up this episode of Where We Drop In. We release on Mondays. Which Mondays? I don't actually know. This is our first one doing it. Let us know what you think. I hope to have Duff on as a guest at another point when Hell's Highway is out. I would love to have you back, but until then, I will see you all around, and I hope you all have a great night.
Take care.